The night was heavy with silence, broken only by the hum of a single car engine, pulling up to a deserted gas station. The woman inside pressed one hand against her swollen belly, the other trembling on the door handle. 8 months pregnant, exhausted, and clutching the faint hope that her husband's heart wasn't as cold as his words. She looked at him for reassurance. Instead, she heard the sharp slam of the car door as he muttered, "You'll figure it out," before speeding away into the darkness, leaving her stranded under flickering neon lights, with nothing but her unborn child, and a heart breaking into pieces. The sound of tires screeching against asphalt echoed long after the car disappeared down the empty road. Emily stood frozen, her breath catching as she realized he wasn't coming back. The father of her child, the man she had trusted her life with, had left her alone at a remote gas station miles away from the nearest town. The bitter wind cut through her thin sweater, and tears blurred the neon glow of the Open 24 Hours. Inside the gas station was quiet. The cashier, a middle-aged man with tired eyes, glanced up from behind the counter. He noticed her pale face, the way she cradled her belly, and how her shoes barely held together. Something inside him stirred, a mixture of worry and compassion. "Mom, you okay?" he asked softly, though he already knew the answer. Emily opened her mouth to speak, but only a choked sob escaped. She had left her phone in the car when he drove off. No money, no ride, no plan. Just a baby kicking inside her, reminding her she wasn't entirely alone. The cashier, whose name tag read George, stepped out from behind the counter. He didn't know who this woman was, but he recognized the look in her eyes, the look of someone who had been broken by the person they trusted most. He had seen that look before in his own life years ago, when his wife walked away with their child and never came back. "Sit down, sweetheart," he said gently, guiding her to a chair by the heater. "You don't have to explain everything right now. Just breathe." As minutes turned into hours, George found himself making her tea, offering her his phone, and assuring her she wasn't a burden. Emily hesitated to call anyone. She had cut ties with most of her family after marrying her wealthy husband, who insisted they weren't good enough. Now, she had nowhere to go. The kindness of a stranger felt foreign, almost unreal. But George didn't press for details. He simply gave her space and warmth when she needed it most. At dawn, when the soft pink of morning light painted the horizon, Emily whispered, "Why are you helping me? You don't even know me." George smiled faintly, his weathered face etched with both pain and gentleness. "Because once, someone helped me when I had nothing. Kindness is the only reason I'm still standing today. Sometimes strangers are the only family we've got." In that moment, something shifted inside Emily. Though she was abandoned by the man she thought she needed, she realized compassion still existed in the world. And maybe, just maybe, she and her child could survive. Months passed. With George's help, Emily found temporary housing and even a part-time job at a small diner in town. Life wasn't easy. Her pregnancy was complicated, and the nights were long. But she no longer felt invisible. She gave birth to a healthy baby girl, whom she named Hope, a name that reflected both her pain and her strength. George became like a grandfather to little Hope, always showing up with small gifts, stuffed animals from the gas station, or bottles of formula he'd paid for out of his meager earnings. The bond they formed wasn't blood, but it was stronger than anything Emily had ever known. Meanwhile, Emily's husband was living his lavish life at resorts and parties. Word eventually spread in their old circles about how he had abandoned his pregnant wife. His wealth couldn't shield him from the shame, and one by one, people distanced themselves. By the time his empire began to crumble, Emily had already built a new life defined not by riches, but by love and resilience. Years later, on a stormy night, George collapsed at the gas station he had worked at for decades. His frail body could no longer carry the weight of loneliness and hard labor. When Emily got the call, she rushed to his side with little Hope, now a lively child with bright eyes. As George lay in the hospital bed, weak but smiling, he whispered, "Looks like I'm running out of time." Emily clasped his hand tightly. "No, George. You gave me and Hope a new life. Now it's our turn to take care of you. You'll never be alone again." True to her word, Emily brought George into her home. What had started as an act of kindness in a lonely gas station became the very reason George spent his last years, surrounded by family, laughter, and unconditional love. The circle was complete. The man who had saved her on her darkest night was saved by her when his own strength faded. And when George passed peacefully years later, little Hope, now older, looked at her mother and said, "Grandpa George may not have been family by blood, but he taught us what family really means." Amelie held her daughter close, tears glistening in her eyes. "Yes, sweetheart. He showed us that kindness can rewrite even the saddest story. Why, too, moral of the story: true wealth is not measured by money or status, but by the kindness we give and the love we share when others need it most."